All right, listen, welcome to everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this educational seminar. We have a little surprise at the end. We'll be doing a draw for Shoppers Drug Mart, so you'll get details at the end. Okay, Reynold, can you mute?
I can hear you, yes.
Can you mute yourself, Reynold?
Can I
Mute.
Okay, mute myself. Okay,
Yes,
I thought it was.
or I can mute you for you.
Okay.
Done. All right. So a little bit about me. My name is Selena Pollard. I have been a licensed realtor since 1993. I've enjoyed serving all aspects of the real estate community, from first-time home buyers to ones who are downsizing, and I like to call it right-sizing. And that's going to be the focus of today's session. We began this educational seminar a few weeks ago, focusing on aspects that are foundational to 55 plus living. And today, my guest is Rene Vanderhaeghe.
You got it. You definitely win the prize today. You got it.
Hey, thank you. So a little bit about Rene. Over 15 years of experience in seniors housing. Rene most recently returned home to work with Chartwell Retirement Residences as a manager of business development for Toronto. He has the pleasure of working alongside many organizations and healthcare professionals within the community as an educator in senior living, as a CPCA, which is a certified professional consultant on aging. He is a dedicated and trusted advisor, connector, and relationship builder, and has a solid foundation within the senior living landscape, where he has gained valuable knowledge and about a variety of topics that affect families and seniors navigating senior living options. He holds an undergraduate degree in applied science and hospitality from the University of Southern New Hampshire. Thank you, Rene, for joining us.
It is absolutely my pleasure, honestly, Selena. It is fantastic being here and fantastic being with you all. Selena, you said my bio perfectly and my last name amazingly, so you definitely win today. So like Selena mentioned, I do work for Chartwell Retirement Residences. I do community integration, but I really kind of pride myself on just being an educational conduit within the industry. So I support a group of residences, which, I call them the Toronto 7. So there's 7 residences that I support, and there's a whole variety of care that we can support within our umbrella. But today is honestly not a commercial by any means about Chartwell. We're just going to go through navigating your care and support options. Again, we can be super interactive. Yes, I am going to try to follow a PowerPoint with slides because if I don't, sometimes I will go down a different rabbit hole and all of a sudden we may be talking about my trip.
Right.
So I'm just going to keep us a little bit on track with just kind of going through all of the different buckets of the care support options that are out there. Let's be honest, we in our industry, we don't make it always easy to understand the different elements of care, and especially when older adults or adult children, seniors, whatever you may, whatever particular time in your life you're at, navigating it isn't easy. I've been in it for 15 years and there's still new things that I learn every day. There's, as you go organization by organization or company by company, sometimes we are calling the same thing different words. So our jargon and how we talk is very different from organization to organization. And then honestly, within Ontario, you put in the private sector with the public sector and we make it more difficult. So really what we're going to do is just have some open discussion. We're going to, Selena's going to keep me honest in terms of the chat or making sure that if there's any questions, because sometimes I don't watch all of that stuff. I just get into the zone and I keep going. But we're just going to drill down and go through what are those, care support options as you're navigating care. What does that look like?
Right.
I'm going to try to jump right in and share a screen.
And I'll just make this announcement. If anybody has any questions, please jump in as soon as you have questions. You might just forget. So we're fine with making this very casual and easy so that we can interact.
Perfect. So I'm hoping that you're seeing my screen.
Is everybody seeing the screen? Thumbs up? Yep.
Again, like I said, it is not a commercial about Chartwell, but I'll put in the 2-second tidbit about Chartwell. We are the largest provider from coast to coast in terms of retirement residence. And we have the whole array. As we talk about the different care options and supports that are available to individuals, for the most part, under our umbrella, we have all of them. Yes, we are on the private side. So when we get to talking more about long-term care, that's more of the public side, which again, there's a saying, something like, Selena, that I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not, when it comes to the public side, hey,
Right.
I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not on the public side. So I would always reach out to my friends and reach out to those contacts that we have within home and community care or within the government LHIN to really help individuals navigate. So we'll still touch on it, but
Right.
again, I'm on the private side.
You're on the private side, but you have the resources.
Correct, but we have the
There you
resources, and that's where it comes into just being that trusted advisor, being that connector and educator. We have almost like the Rolodex of information in our head where we can connect individuals to those care options that are the support systems that they may need at that particular time.
Right.
I think one of the things I love this slide where it says think retirement living, think again. I love bringing individuals into our residences, communities, our homes, whatever you may call them, just to get a real feel and get a real, actual vibe of what a retirement residence can look like. And before we start talking about navigating care support and those options that are available, I love sharing this slide. And I've actually put this slide into almost every presentation I do, just to give us a little bit of a foundation or a glance ahead. So if we look at basically today, and we look at the 10-year glance on the horizon, let's start with some statistics. By 2031, which is not that far away,
No.
approximately 25% of Canada's population is going to be over 65. That is the first time in history that this will happen within our country. So 2031, 25% of our population over 65. Currently we already have 6 million seniors in Canada. The biggest proportion currently of our population are individuals that are over 50. So that's a bit of an eye-opening statistic, especially within our industry, within the realm that I work in every day, within senior living and the different support systems, is there is a need. And we're going to see that over the next anywhere from five plus years continue to grow.
Right.
It's the first time that baby boomers turn 75. So again, the age is greater in numbers. So I always like to start with this one because it just shows kind of our past, but it shows a lot of where the future in terms of the older adults, retirement living or senior living, where it's taking us. There's a lot of things, and if you watch, if you're into media, if you're into the realm of senior living, you hear about the silver tsunami or you hear about what's to come. This is just giving a little bit of a glimpse at what is to come. 25% of our population will be over 65. So some of the things when I'm working with families, and again, I work with professionals, I work with families, I work with anybody that's navigating care and support options for loved ones, for neighbors, for their mother, their father. It doesn't matter who it is. They are just navigating the support systems that are available to us here in Ontario. A lot of times when I am having a first initial conversation with individuals, we're very well versed on some of the reasons on why people are starting to look and trying to find the right support. I definitely won't go through these all, but really some of the triggers that I wanted to share, some of the more common challenges that we hear are people are starting to navigate their care and support because of possibly poor nutrition, eating habits, declining hygiene, security. There might be medical reasons, there might be dementia, Alzheimer's, there might just be a decline in the individual's physical and mental state. A lot of times, those are some of the triggers that we hear when people start navigating what care supports are out there. I can tell you over the last probably 3 years, and again, I'm not going to use the C word, the COVID word, but the socialization and the companionship was really one that we heard a lot. We heard a lot about, again, yes, that was the media. We heard a lot about the isolation. We heard a lot about just that whole lack of companionship and socialization within our industry, and people wanting and craving to be in supportive environments where that was still evident, but that was still available to them. So when we look at what are some of the care support options available, one of the questions that we always ask is why retirement living could be a solution. When you consider there's a whole bunch of aspects under the umbrella of supportive living, under care options, retirement living is one of them. First of all, there's the safety aspect. No matter the circumstances of individuals that may choose or look at retirement living or retirement residences as a possible option, security is sometimes one of those things that is top of their list. A lot of retirement within retirement residences, there's always the peace of mind that there is individuals there to support if support is needed 24 hours, 7 days a week. One of the things, and when we kind of talk about the difference between, say, the public side and the private side, is the care levels. The social aspect within retirement living, honestly, is no other than fantastic within our industry, within retirement residences, versus looking at more of a medical model, which long-term care is based on more of a medical complex model. So retirement living is very much the supportive aspects, the security, but also really probably the number one aspect of somebody who truly is looking at a retirement living sector, whether it's a senior condo for purchase or a rental. It is truly that what is available from a social aspect within that environment. And I know Selena's had some, great visits and great tours at some of our residences, and she was able to see the difference between maybe one of the models that may have been more on the assisted living or the supportive side versus one that's polar opposite on the very independent, on the condo-like side. So this is probably one of my favorite slides in terms of navigating our care and support options. It's the retirement living, it's the retirement life cycle care options. This slide right here truly shows the true umbrella under retirement living. So we're going to drill down a little bit into each of them. We're going to look at home care. Home care, who doesn't want to stay home? Home care has an element of two. Home care has a public side and has a private side. Independent living or independent supportive living is something that I'll give you a few points about. Assisted living, memory living is another thing that I'll give a few points about as we just talk about what are some of those care options that are available as we navigate our systems. So private home care. So private home care and long-term care. So private home care, there are two streams. There is, again, the public side and the private side. So again, many seniors that we work with, even my mother, I've had this conversation, wants to stay at home as long as possible. They want to be at home. They want to be in their own environment where they've been for however plus many years, where all of their memories are captured within that, secular home that they've always been. Typically, when something happens, then there's always a little bit of a need-based, where we need to make sure that we're navigating a proper care support system that can enter an individual's home.
Right.
So that's where home care kind of falls under the umbrella of navigating care options. Again, home care, there's many fantastic private home care agencies. And again, I know that every time I say the word private, that's, it comes down to the affordability aspect.
Dollars, yes.
It
Sure.
does. It does come down to dollars. But there's many great organizations, whether it's home care, whether it's any of the pillars that we're going to talk about, that there is a wide variety of price range.
Right.
It's a little bit of a misconception sometimes that, home care or retirement living is always, the highest of the high. It's almost like the fanciest of fancy restaurants. We always remember the highest restaurant that I've ever paid a bill at. But I sometimes forget the middle of the road that I've had fantastic food at.
Fantastic meal and a fantastic ambiance and a fantastic time. So
correct. And I always forget that one because I'm always remembering, being at this restaurant where it was the highest of the high. So truthfully, when we're navigating our support system, home care, there's great, there's fantastic organizations that do it on the private side. And again, there's a wide variety of price ranges. It all depends on what an individual may need help with in their home. What are some of the care needs? that home care agency or that home care company is coming in to assist somebody with. On the public side, again, that's where we would lean on our friends from the government and from home and community care.
Right.
Individuals work with a case manager or somebody within the home and community care or the LIN, or some still know it as CCAC. They would come in, do an assessment, and see, based on hours, based on algorithms, what type of support would be available to them through home and community care. So through the public side.
Right.
Again, it does come down to when it's private home care, it's the affordability aspect. And again, there are great organizations on both ends. Again, this is where being just an educator and having conversations, there are fantastic connections that we have on the public side and vice versa on, the private side. Sometimes, again, 24-hour support, that is something, again, when you think of home care, anything can pretty much be done within an individual's home as you're navigating supports, right down to the most complex of care can be brought.
Right.
Independent living. So one of the things as we navigate care and support within the umbrella of senior living is independent living. Independent living, truly, and I'm not saying that any of them are easy to understand, because I've been in the industry, so I think I'm like, oh, they're all easy to understand. Independent living, this is the lifestyle option that can include a range of convenient services. So the residents or individuals that live in retirement in independent living or kind of under that independent living umbrella, they may like some convenient services, and trust me, I would like that too, where I don't have to clean, I may not have to cook. Leisure activities are provided for me. There is calendars of activities available for me. But again, independent living is truly what it sounds like. It's basically you can live independently within that residence. There is the peace of mind of 24 hours, 7 days a week staff, just in case something was to happen in terms of safety and security. But independent living, typically the seniors or the older adults that choose independent living don't really require any type of care services.
Right.
They're seeking more of the social engagement.
Social aspect. Got it. Jen does have a question, and the question is there a waiting list to get into some of these facilities?
So I love that question, Jen, truthfully, because when I hear that question, I would be thinking, I'd be like, I wonder if Jen is thinking on the private side or the public side. Because usually, from my experience, when we hear that the word wait list or how long is it, that's usually on the public side. That's usually in the realm of long-term care. Again, let's see. Pre-COVID, some buildings did have a wait list within retirement within our sector, but not long wait lists. When you hear about, and again, we'll get into long-term care, but when you hear about wait lists that are 7 years long to get into somewhere, that automatically has triggered me that we are talking about subsidy. We're talking about long-term care. We're talking that government route. So Jeff, honestly, for the most part, within retirement living, within independent living, there is not usually a huge wait list. Sometimes there could be, I can tell you, and I can only give you some stories of, the Toronto region, so the 7 residences. I don't believe that any of the residences that I support right now tonight have a wait list for independent living. Memory living, they would. And again,
memory living, they would. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. No, that was a great one. I love that question because it usually does trigger me to think that, I wonder if we're talking about the public side or the private side.
Or the private, yeah.
So as we navigate and continue just our conversation of navigating care and support, independent supported living is another type of living that was on that trail that we first saw, that flow chart where we had all the circles. Independent supported living, again, Chartwell, most of our residences are independent / with some supported living available. This is still, honestly, where most of our residents do come for that social model. Yes, they come for the safety and security of knowing that there's staff on site 24 hours a day, but they might need help with maybe, you know, one little thing in their journey. Maybe they need help with the fact that they don't, you know, they have trouble tying up a shoe, or they have one little instance where they need a little bit of help. Or the supportive can also come into individuals who are pre-planned. They're like, okay, I'm looking for the social model today, but unfortunately, I am thinking, or I'm hypothesizing, or my doctor, or my family history, I might need some support down the road, and I don't want to move again. So I want to make sure I'm in an environment where it's independent today and has support mechanisms built into it already.
Yeah.
Our residences, and again, I'm speaking on behalf of Charlotte, but most organizations within our sector are very similar, have the element of care that can be brought in. So, you know, we have a program, and there might be a slide, but I'll probably skip over it because, like I said, definitely not a commercial about Chartwell, is we have care assist programs. So that's where all of a sudden, in the independent aspect of that resident or that building, we can bring in the care services. So then it becomes independent supportive. Independent living and independent supportive, truthfully, sometimes get confused. And I understand why, because the elements they're identical. It's just the fact that the care can be brought in. And for the most time, the care is done behind doors. It's in the resident's apartment. It's in their own environment. So it doesn't look like a medical model by any means. And I'd say a great example saying is when you visited Chartwell Scarlet Heights in Etobicoke, that would be independent supportive. Yes, there's memory, which is a different bucket, but care is done behind the doors.
Right. Right. I also wanted to just point out something that you talked about. I actually met two ladies who were living in residence at the time, and well, two of the ladies that I did meet, both of them were sort of preempting what was about to happen. Actually, one of them, she was there. She chose to move in because she didn't want to be a burden to her only child, who is, you know, he's married and has his children and whatnot, and she's got a couple of health issues. And again, she's just kind of making this move now because she had to make a move, right? So she's making this move in advance. And then there was another lady who, again, same sort of thing, and she's wants to make this one move, and that's it, kind of thing. And they're extremely independent people, right? So yeah, so I did meet people like that.
And honestly, that's a really, really great point, Selena. Truthfully, as I work with families or work with just professionals or people that talk about navigating care and support, that's always one thing that I kind of just mentioned. I say, you know what? Look at if you're making a move, if you're already decided that, you know what, I really, retirement living is something that I do want to navigate, I do want to go into. I'm always like, perfect, it's great. Make sure as you're navigating that support system that you can age in place, or you can go into an environment that if the care was ever needed, that A is available, B that it can be brought in. Because again, you know, I don't think anybody, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. I wouldn't want individuals to constantly, especially older adults or seniors, to constantly be making more moves older on in life.
No, absolutely not.
Just to life, in balance in general.
Yeah.
So for true well-being, making sure as you're navigating that nobody wants, you know, a journey to go this way and need a lot of care, but make sure that it's there if it's needed,
if
or it
in fact it's needed. Yeah.
If it's needed. And a lot of times it's never needed, but never know.
Never know.
So as we continue the journey on navigating our care support, assisted living is another one of those buckets within retirement living. Assisted living is specially designed to support individuals who do benefit from assistance with daily personalized care. So basically, that is where we are joining that resident's journey more one-on-one and assisting them with a lot of their ADLs, or their activities of daily living. So we might be helping with, you know, bathing, dressing, helping, you know, get to the dining room. Again, it's a great word. Assisted living truly is what it is, having assistance for those residents 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah,
As
I do have
required.
another question. And actually, this is a very good question. Do you think there's a trend towards assisted living with individuals with no children or just one? And then she mentioned, I have one child and would never want to be a burden on my son, which is kind of what I just said, right? Talked about. Yeah.
So I do. So again, this is where I know who pays my bills. I know I work for Chartwell, but I know a lot about a lot of our others that we work with within our industry. There is definitely a trend within our industry, probably today. And again, I do believe that over the last 3 years, we've seen decline and we've seen a lot of pent up demand at home where people are continuing to struggle. I do think that especially those that, might not have larger families, it may like Jennifer, one child. Yes, looking at making sure, and again, it kind of just goes back to what I just mentioned, making sure that whatever environment an individual is looking at, that assistance can be there when it's needed. Assisted living sometimes is also, if I think of one building that is assisted living, can also mean safety and security with being a secure environment or a locked environment. Again, I think that looking for your continuum of care is the most important. And again, what I mean by that is that if I am, and I can think of, even a building where it is just like a senior condo, full kitchens, washers, dryers, we have residents in that building that are still working, volunteering, very active in the city. But Care Assist, or the program that Chartwell, so that we have, does allow individuals to age in place and have the care brought in if it's ever needed.
Right.
So I wouldn't say, yes, I would say that a lot of people do make sure, that the care that is going to possibly be needed is already in that retirement residence. But again, this is where, Jennifer, we make it difficult because some organizations would call a supportive environment assisted living. So this is where we sometimes muddy the water. It's us in this industry that muddy the water because we use the term assisted living differently across platforms. Again, Chartwell, we use it, very, very, I use it all the time. We know how to describe and explain what our services are in assisted living. But yeah, I was with Sunrise for 7 years, and our assisted living, very different from what I would describe as Chartwell's assisted living. So again, this is where it's sometimes, like I said in the beginning, sometimes navigating the system, different organizations use different terms, which kind of mean the same thing, but to the end user or to the families navigating or the senior themselves, we make it a little bit hard. But that's where you have trusted advisors that can kind of help navigate this. So assisted living, again, is truly that, again, it's always the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week support, but assisted living truly is designed for those individuals that already have a care need coming in. Independent or independent supported, there might not be a care need. Where assisted living for us at Chartwell, there is always some type of care need that's already a resident would benefit from. So it is definitely something. Personalized care is usually what's needed within assisted living. The next one is memory living. So this one's near and dear to me a little bit. So memory living is truly those neighborhoods and the support systems within retirement living that cater to those dementia or Alzheimer's through basically a one-on-one approach to care. And joining that particular resident's journey. And safety security is probably number one. So it's not completely built on a social model. It's built on safety and security model with a huge element of the social aspect, but it's one-on-one to the individual. So within memory living or memory care, again, different organizations are using kind of, those terms very loosely. It's how can the individual or how can, the individual that lives with us within memory living, how can our teams, how can our care managers basically approach and join that resident's journey, almost looking at the resident as in a holistic approach. So we don't do an activity calendar that is for the masses. We look at activities almost one-on-one. We look at, gentle persuasion approach rather than trying to have everybody lumped together in congregate living. Again, with memory living, we are joining the resident's journey. So we're not redirecting back to, today's date. We're not like, okay, it's, it is March 2023. If our journey at that particular day is, we are from 1950, we stay in that.
That's where we are. I wanted to add
I-
something right here because I think it's important. I have a client who, her mother was in, retirement living, and she had memory issues, but she was not able to go on the memory floor right away. And she was almost declining. And the minute she got onto the memory floor, she flourished.
Correct.
She flourished. And she was telling me stories that she walked in one day and she heard her mom and this other lady babbling, and exactly what you just said. And she said, oh my gosh, she was just, and then she said, well, I'm going to ask my mom. That's what her mom said. Her mom said she's going to ask her mom, and she just was tickled pink. But the point is that her mother had completely changed, completely, like her spirit and everything about her. She was definitely flourishing. So I think it's important just to note that if that is what is required, that's where they need to be,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Memory care truthfully memory care is one of those areas that is my second paycheck. And what I mean by that is if I am in any of our residences, and if I am like, where we all have those days where like, what am I doing today? If I ever need the reality check, I go to memory living. And it basically fills my bucket in terms of just redirecting the why behind why am I here. I love watching memory living. I love the fact that, our care managers and the individuals that work within memory living, I swear they're like little angels, and they're able to join that resident's journey. And it is not easy. It is not easy to always, constantly be putting yourself into, that vulnerable state of, the unknown. But memory living is, again, it's still, as you navigate care and support, it's still under that retirement umbrella. Long-term care. So this is where we pivot a little bit into that public side. So historically, long-term care was referred to nursing homes. So usually if people are asking about nursing homes, or my mom is a prime example. I've been in the industry for 15 years, and it has taken me 14 years for her to realize that I do not work in long-term care, that I work on the public side. Or the private side. I'm sorry.
Private side,
The private side, because every time she talks about the nursing, I'm like, I'm not in nursing. So historically, when we hear individuals as we navigate talk about nursing services, nursing home, that usually gives us, just like when Jennifer asked about the long wait list, sometimes that triggers my mind to be like, I think we might be talking about long-term care. Long-term care residences, those are licensed and authorized as government regulated and funded beds or homes. They're designed for individuals who require a more complex care. So again, it's 24-hour nursing. It could be advanced dementias, but it's more of a complex care. So what I mean by complex care is it could be things like specialized tube feeding. That's more of a complex care.
Sure.
A Hoyer lift, that's not overly complex. That can be done in assisted living. But things like ventilators, if somebody is, having assistance with breathing through a ventilator, that is a complex care. So that's more of a medical model. So when I first started and I said about, private and public side, and one of the big differences is the social model and medical model. Long-term care definitely is built on that medical model. Medical model. Yeah, more of a complex care. Even the process of admitting and, navigating long-term care, you work directly with, a contact from home and community care or the LIN or the old CCAC. You work with those individuals to basically work through the wait lists, work through, that portion of finance, everything is done through home and community care. The next slide is also a good one that I'm going to spend just a few more minutes in this one because it really talks about the differences between retirement, so between the private side and the public side. So again, when we think of retirement or anything under this retirement umbrella, it is private, long-term care public. Care support, so care support, there's a lot of care that can be done within retirement. Things like, 24-hour nursing care, that can be done in retirement. Medication administration in retirement, things like even a Hoyer lift, so a mechanical lift to assist people, that can be done in retirement. Complex medical needs, like I just mentioned, that is long-term care. Security, again, security goes hand in hand. Security in retirement. One question that I always get is when people come and visit a retirement residence, they say, what are visiting hours? Usually that's another bit of a trigger that's possibly maybe the long-term care route. Within retirement, again, we're under the Landlord-Tenant Act because we are rental. So yes, there's usually a concierge that could be at a building depending on location, because I know one building downtown, it's 24 hours. But usually it's, kind of like an 8 till 5, there's a concierge and then the front door locks. Residents have a key fob, just like a condo, or, you call from the phone and someone's going to answer the door, or people, if they're visiting, they call and, people, it's entry that way. Where long-term care for the most part, their doors are locked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay.
Long-term care, a lot of times, the units, so memory living or individuals who may be wandering, dementia, Alzheimer's, it could be anywhere within the building. So sometimes that can be one of the other differences between retirement and long-term care. The other one is definitely the pay. Let's be honest, affordability is always something that comes up. Retirement on the private side, it's private pay. There's no government subsidy. Yes, you could work with, your accountant and individuals to find out about what kind of care can be claimed on your T2200 on your taxes. But again, retirement is funded by yourself. It's funded by the individual, where
Sure.
long-term care does have that element of subsidy. But I'm going to say with that element of subsidy, a lot of times people think individuals, and again, even myself before getting in this industry and really learning a lot, is there's a bit of a misconception that individuals think that long-term care is free. Indeed, in Ontario, long-term care is not free. So basic accommodation for long-term care or out-of-pocket pricing can be anywhere from $1,800 to $2,600 per month. So a lot of times, and when you get those rates, that could be for semi-private. So there's still going to be somebody in long-term care sharing the room with you. But that is one of the biggest misconceptions that we come up against every day is long-term care is free. It's like, well,
I'm guilty. I'm guilty of that. I actually thought it was.
Yeah.
I am guilty of that. Okay. Well, that's good knowledge.
Pocket price.
Right.
Very minimal. So there's a fantastic subsidy. And let's be honest, there are some great long-term care buildings as well.
Right.
And there's definitely the need for it. And the last point really about retirement to long-term care, one of the biggest differences is the move-in process. Within retirement, you could go to a Chartwell residence, you could tour that building, you could ask about availability with our individuals that are in the buildings. And then we do an assessment with our health and wellness manager or the main nurse of the building. And then we just go through a bit of a move-in process. We can have individuals in our building, and again, yes, there's medical things or things, but we can have individuals in our building, 24 hours plus, where with long-term care, the move-in process is very different. Again, you do have to work through home and community care. There is not any guarantee that the top 5 that you may choose, you'll get in there. When you talk about, and when Jennifer said about wait lists, long-term care, there are homes that are in the city and in the province that do have long wait times. So you could be on a list for a year, 5 years, 7 years, waiting for a bed within long-term care. So that move-in process, definitely in long-term care, it's a lot longer if you're waiting for a bit of a need.
Sure.
And again, admission or going into long-term care, it's 100% admitted through government. So, when regulations or things change, even as COVID happened and, individuals did not need consent to leave hospital to be routed somewhere. When decisions like that, or when things are made on the government level within long-term care, that could also, affect long-term, it can affect, the ability to get in or out of long-term care.
Right.
I'd say the other big difference, long-term care, for those individuals that, husbands, wife, or spouses, or individuals who want to, stay together. Long-term care, you're not always guaranteed for a husband, wife to be in that same room.
Right.
You might not even be in the same building.
Even in the same residence, right?
Correct. Retirement, you're the one selecting. You're the one in that proverbial driver's seat, making your own choices.
Right.
So we're not going to go through the Care Assist program because I told you in the beginning, it definitely wasn't a commercial about Chartwell, but the Care Assist program just shows how we can bring care into some of our independent supportive environments. As you navigate some of the other care and support, sometimes individuals may need what we call a short stay or a respite stay. I can tell you that pretty much all of our Chartwell residences and most residences within our industry do offer those short stays. They're called short stays, respite stays, convalescent stays. We have a whole bunch of names for them. But basically, it's exactly what it sounds like. Somebody could be just needing to rest or recover from a surgery or an illness, or somebody may just need to go away for 30 days and be like, I need somewhere safe for my mom, because my mom, I'm taking care of her, she's living with me, but I'm going away for 30 days. I need somewhere that I know she's going to be in great hands. Most retirement residences have that support option available, where our buildings do offer short stays.
Oh, that's good to know as well.
Yeah, a lot of our buildings do definitely offer that short stay option. And it's also a good option. And I've seen it time and time again. It's also a good option for individuals that are looking, especially, when you're a little bit nervous about, do I really want to try this retirement residence?
Yes.
Is this something that's really me? Sometimes just trying it out is a great thing. And we say, truthfully, try it out for 4 weeks. Don't do anything to your, your home or whatever home looks like, but try out retirement for 4 weeks. See the cycle.
I think that's a very good idea, because they don't know what they're walking into. And having been in their home for usually an extended period of time, they've got to get used to and comfortable with some other type of living arrangement. And it may not be for everyone.
No. And you know what? Individuals that say would come into our environments or into retirement and do it for a week or two, probably not. You want to try to do that 4 week to see a rotation of activities, a rotation of food, to just see what's really going on in that, that residence or that community for that 4 week time frame.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
well, that was really fantastic, Rene. I learned stuff.
Well, you did. Well, no, and you know what? It's so interesting, because as we navigate care and support options, truthfully, there's a lot of options that are out there, and we don't always make it the easiest, because like I said in the beginning too, is that how I talk about, say, assisted living, someone else has kind of a different definition, even though it's kind of the same, but it's not the same. So super important as you navigate care and support, especially if it's in the retirement sector, is, go out and visit. If in your community, and again, we're not talking about the importance of the community, but I'm a huge believer that the community that you live in today is most generally the community that you may want to live in as an older adult.
Absolutely. I
agree. So I would be saying, look at what are the options as you navigate care support. What home care is in your neighborhood? What long-term care buildings are in your neighborhood? Maybe it's a 1 to 5 kilometer radius that you feel is your neighborhood. If I use High Park as an example, I'm like, what long-term care is in High Park? What retirement residences are High Park? What private home care agencies are in High Park? What senior centers are on High Park? I would literally be navigating my area of High Park, because that's where it's not actually where I work, but that's where my connections are.
Right.
I think that staying connected to your community is just such a.
I think it's vital. It's vital for the continuum, right?
You got
right?
it.
And it makes the transition a lot more seamless, right? Jen has thanked you very much for
Jen.
for the information. And let me just check on my Facebook to see if there are any questions in Facebook. There are no questions in Facebook. Okay. So does anybody here have any questions for Rene? We've got him for a couple more minutes and we'd love to answer any questions that you may have. And no question is a silly question.
Not at all.
Reynold has a question and I'm going to ask you, Reynold, to unmute yourself. There we go.
Hello, Rene, and thank you, Selena. Rene, I wondered if you yourself provide any services, if in this area of support.
If me, myself.
Yeah.
Are you talking
Do you
about
have in your business, is your business part, do you have a business that's support this aging process?
Yeah, so Reynold, I work for Chartwell Retirement Residences. So we are the largest provider of retirement residences coast to coast. So we are a Canadian organization. Under our umbrella, we have independent living, independent supportive, assisted memory. We do not have long-term care because we're on the private side. I'd say when it comes to home care, we work with a lot of what I would call trusted partners, or people that we have, great relationships with, individuals that, we may have seen in the community that we know do great work and, almost come with a great seal of approval from individuals within the city or that they have worked with. I'd say home care is people that, I could refer to. So just like, if I had somebody that's trying to sell my house, I would refer them over to Selena because I am not a real estate agent. I'd say we can connect, or Reynold, I'd be able to give you ideas. Did that answer your question? I feel like I could have ran in a circle.
Did that answer your question, Reynold?
You have answered my question in some part, and I thank you for the presentation. It's very timely, and a lot is not known of the need that is out there, and that 25% of the age, I thought that was a little low myself, but.
Are you telling me I better check on some stats because something could have changed?
Oh, thank you for joining us, Miss Jean. How are you this evening? You're muted, so there you are.
Well, thank you for that presentation. I learned a bit the difference between long-term and also, but one question I have for you, Rene, thank you for the clarity of your presentation. Rene, if I want to do the stay at home, right, as I age, is it possible to go to Chartwell for some services?
So I would say that whatever community you're in terms of services, I would have to drill down and say, what type of services are you talking? If you're talking about socialization or activities,
yes,
we can always connect you with somebody to say, hey, these are some of the things that are taking place in that particular residence. Again, we open our doors to the community a lot. So I would say, you know what, you could do it. If there's a particular a building in your neighborhood and you're like, hey, I want to check this out, I want to see, you can go. Again, it's an open door. And then you can even ask the retirement living consultant to put you on their list every time they have an event, if they have a wine and cheese, if they have an open house, if they have an entertainer, if they have somebody, they'll invite you. They'll invite you in.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was asking. Yes.
I would also say, Jean, is looking at even the community or the area, the city or whatever demographic you're in. Mm-hmm. And why not take a look and see if there is an active adult senior center, or if there's, an element of activation, if it's activity that you're craving, finding out what's there from, an older adult lens. I do a lot with our senior centers in Toronto and in the GTA, with workshop series with, I know that they do great, they do great activations and great things at some of the local active adult senior centers.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Wonderful. Well, I had promised we've lost a couple of guests. Thank you, Rene. Thank you,
my
Reynolds. Thank you, Miss Jean and Jen. We've lost a couple of people. I'm just gonna put it out there because I did say, first of all, I did say I was gonna have a draw, and the draw is for a gift certificate for Shoppers Drug Mart, and all you need to do to enter to win is email me and say, I wanna win. And you will be entered in the draw, and I've just put my email information in the chat, and we will send you off the gift certificate if you are the lucky winner, chicken dinner. And Rene has something to say.
You all have some really good odds. So I think you need to email Selena.
Yeah, you guys have good odds right now. So listen, I hope the information was helpful. I truly do believe it has been. If anybody wants to connect with Rene individual, just reach out to me. I have all of his contact details. Rene, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you for dispensing. You've actually cleared some cobwebs in my head. So I really appreciate it.